Good morning. My name is Michael Thompson, and I'm the chair of the Economic and Community Development Committee. The clerk has confirmed that we have quorum, so I'd like to call meeting 23 of the Economic and Community Development Committee to order. I'd like to welcome everyone to this morning's meeting. Today's meeting is being held by video conference. City staff are also connecting to the meeting by video conference. As City Hall remains closed, the public will continue to participate electronically and can watch the meeting streaming live on YouTube at youtube.com/Toronto City Council Live. I want to just remind and ask everyone for their patience with any delays and technical issues that we may have as we proceed with today's meeting. The virtual world is not perfect, nor is the real world, so it's the reality that some things may happen, and I just want to ask everyone for their patience. We currently have 3 registered public speakers. The clerk staff have connected all registered speakers to the meeting by audio. The list of speakers can be viewed online by visiting the Economic and Community Development page at toronto.ca/council and clicking the speakers box for today's meeting. Members, this is a paperless meeting. The clerk has provided all agenda material via CMP, the clerk's meeting portal. IT staff will be available to help members with their device. I would like to remind staff to keep their mics muted and their videos turned off unless they need to answer questions or speak to the committee. This will make it easier for me as chair and for those watching on YouTube to observe members as they participate in the debate and vote on items. Members, please also keep your mic muted unless you wish to question staff or speak to an item, and ensure that your video is, of course, turned on. As part of each agenda item, I will ask members to raise their hands or unmute their mics if they wish to question staff or to speak. I will then create a speakers list and will call on members when it is their turn to speak. When voting on an item or motion, I ask that members ensure that they turn on their video and to raise their hands to indicate their vote. Members, I want to remind you that you must submit and approve your motion by email. Staff are available at ecdc@toronto.ca to help with motions. If there are any visiting members of council attending the meeting today, I would encourage you to turn on your video so that I know that you are present and can give you the opportunity to ask questions of staff or speak. This will also assist the clerk staff to record attendance for this meeting. Although we are meeting in different locations today, the committee would like to acknowledge that the land that we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississauga of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississauga of the Credit. Members, are there any declaration of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? If you have an interest, please raise your hand or unmute your mic and indicate the item number and the nature of the interest. See no hands raised. Thank you. Okay. Members, as you know, Giuliana Carbone, Deputy City Manager, our amazing Deputy City Manager, and Community and Social Services, is retiring from the city today. As this is her last day at ECDC meeting, I would like to make a few remarks with respect to Giuliana's amazing career and contributions that she has made to this amazing city. Now we have had an opportunity to celebrate her achievements that she has made on behalf of all of us and all of the staff here. And I know that so many things have been said already. So Giuliana, I have to tell you, I had a hard time preparing my notes because I'm not sure there's anything original to it. But I wanted to take this opportunity on behalf of all the members of committee and all the staff who have worked with you as part of this committee. I am also acknowledge that in the room with us are two additional amazing members of the leadership team of this city. And I'm so delighted that they're here. Deputy City Manager Tracy Cook is here. Deputy City Manager Josie Scioli is here, of course, to celebrate the amazing career of Giuliana Carbone. And I know that the track record and the footprint that you have left, and those who are part of your team, including the two deputy city managers that I've just mentioned, are obviously part of an amazing team that you have been able to obviously develop here. And so I'd like to start off my remarks by saying the following. Today it is, in fact, my privilege to acknowledge the contribution of a legendary city builder, a stalwart of municipal leader, and an exemplary, and I stress this, an exemplary public servant. Sadly, it is also a farewell to a person I deeply admired and have relied on for many years for her wisdom and her exceptional ability to get things done, no matter how difficult the situation or the challenges is. I was just doing a little bit of mental math, Giuliana, and I've come to realize I've known you for about 21 of your 37 years in the city of Toronto. And I can simply say this, every single one of those moments in those years have been exceptional for me knowing you. And I don't just say this with respect to words, I can feel it in my soul in terms of how you have made such great contribution to this city and have helped so many, including myself. So after 37 years of service to the people of Toronto, Giuliana Carbone will be retiring on June 30th. And I'm trying not to cry because I always cry. Because that's how you are. You make us feel
Go
better.
ahead, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Carroll. Giuliana began her career, municipal career, with the City of North York in 1984 as Director of Administrative Service for Public Health. In the critical years after Toronto's amalgamation, and I was there, she took charge of revenue services and succeeded in harmonizing the tax system of the 7 former, and separate municipalities into one system for the newly managed and newly merged city. And I say managed, and I use that word because I know how difficult it was at the time. Scarborough had their own system, everyone else had their own system, everybody wanted their system to have been the system of the day that would be the amalgamated system. And you, Giuliana Carbone, was in charge of that, and you led that. And so this is an example of your ability and your leadership skill. So again, I thank you for that. From 2008 to 2015, she served as City Treasurer, managing Toronto's $10 billion budget as the city weathered a major recession and entered into a period of rapid economic growth as well as population growth. Next came a posting as Deputy City Manager for Community and Social Services. Of course, this was interrupted in 2008 by a 4-month assignment as Interim City Manager. It is impossible to overstate Giuliana's contribution to the City of Toronto, its development, and its evolving into a world-class city. Over her career, she has led the development of one major policy shift, management system or operational strategy after another, all the while managing her portfolio and her people with skill, dignity, tact, and a level of compassion that is not seen in administrative environment. So again, we thank you for that. Her steady hand and unsurpassed leadership has been essential to Toronto's rise and to the admiration that so many people have for this city. And this city is renowned today because of your leadership, your skills, and your efforts to have made us what we are today. But as significant as her work achievements are, they in fact do not compare to the magnitude of her kindness and her generosity. And I'm so humbled by that. As co-patron of the City of Toronto's United Way campaign, she helped raise $1.62 million for the 2019 campaign. Her abiding leadership in this effort has inspired the launch of the Giuliana Carbone Spirit of Philanthropy Award, which recognizes the exceptional contributions of people and the division that embodies her philanthropic values. Giuliana. On behalf of this committee and all of our members and all the staff that are here, we wish to extend our deepest gratitude for you, for all that you have done for us, for the City of Toronto and its people. While we will miss you so much, we wish you the utmost happiness in your retirement, and we look forward to seeing you again. Now, Giuliana, I'm not finished, because you know, you are such a gifted, talented person in so many ways. You are a gifted baker, and I know that in the 21 years I've known you, I've never tasted your baking. So I will say this on behalf of the members of the committee, we will look forward to some pastries coming forward because you'll have some extra time, so we will be awaiting that. But I wanted to keep the cake theme and the baking theme. So on behalf of members of committee, I went to one of my favorite bakery in my ward, Ours Bakery, and I asked them to prepare a cake for you. And they simply said, absolutely. We talked about your experience and so on. And so I have a cake for you. And I'd like to introduce that cake for you this morning. I'll put my mask on and walk over and ask you to open the box. And I'm going to read the inscription in the cake so as to let everyone know what we had to say as part of our final word. So if I could ask you to join me, and we're doing this safely. Madam Clerk, you're witnessing this, and socially distancing and putting my mask on and so on. So, Giuliana, on behalf of members of the committee and all of us here, I'd like to present to you this wonderful cake that has been prepared, and you can come close if you wish, by Ours Bakery. Now, I understand that chocolate is your favorite. Members, I don't know if you can see this. We'll make sure we get this to the camera. And it says, thanks for 37 years of awesome. I think that, Madam DCM, so this is for you, and I hope that it can be seen. I don't know, members, if you can see it. Anything I can do to make sure that members can see it? So, do I lift it and tilt it? Don't drop it. Okay, no, oops. I got it. I want to make sure I don't drop it. I don't need a guy that dropped the cake. Turn. Oh, you know what? Hang on. There you go. Thank you. That's very smart of you. All right, so definitely I won't drop it.
First retirement cake Julie hasn't had to bake herself.
Giuliana, I'd like to present this to you. Now you can see the cake. Members, you can see the cake? All right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Are you guys okay? Okay, well, we're gonna, okay, now, members, can you see?
We can see it, Mr. Chair. It's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Giuliana, here you are.
I would expect nothing less from ours.
Did you want to see?
How can we have a piece of cake virtually?
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, I know you're going to ask Giuliana to speak, but I was wondering if I could just say
Sure.
a quick little something.
Absolutely, absolutely. Go ahead, please, Councillor Carroll, you have the floor.
I don't want to step on anything you've said because you've just reflected how we all feel perfectly. But Giuliana's career is actually a lesson for all of us, councillors, for the mayor, and senior team members. It's a lesson for us in interviewing and hiring. Giuliana won't know this, but she was so able and so competent in the financial under the financial pillar, heading revenue services and as treasurer, that when she became deputy city manager, we got a report. We'd gone through the hiring. The mayor had a panel, and Giuliana was appointed to be the deputy city manager of soft services, social services, and such. I am reminded every time Giuliana does something great. When that report came out, I went down the hall to a really good friend on council, who won't mind my saying this because they collaborated so well later on. But I went down to talk about the council agenda because it's out. And she said, "Did you see the appointment report? Giuliana Carbone for soft services." She was so confident at what she had been doing that my colleague could not envision her as deputy city manager over the cluster that can be so different. But I had my own insights into that because on the budget committee, sitting under Chair Soknacki, we had different rules then, and there was a lot of problem solving and collaborating before opening the budget process up. We looked at what are the issues and highlights, and how could we work things out between the two. We were very short of cash in those days. So I had seen the collaboration and the respect of general managers under any pillar in any cluster. And I'd seen the compassion that you, Mr. Chair, just described so well. And I said, I think you're going to be surprised. And here we are today. And she surprised us and surprised us and surprised us for the next couple of years. And then we just came to take it for granted. Fabulous leadership over that cluster. But every time she does something great, rising to the challenge of the pandemic, I always think back to that day of someone saying, "Giuliana for soft services." And now we don't know how we're going to live without her. Giuliana, I just don't know. I don't know how I'm going to function without you. but you do deserve a wonderful retirement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Carroll. Just looking to see if anyone else wishes to say anything. Okay, that's great. Thank you. Madam DCM, the floor is yours.
Mr. Chair, Councillor Carroll, and all of the committee. I said it at council. I'm only one person. And it's been such an honor and a privilege to work with all of you and all of the other councillors over the years, and the very exceptionally talented, thank you, staff and leaders in the public service. One person, we can't do very much, but we have such a way of always coming together to make sure that we support this city and all of its people the way they need to be supported, and to make sure that all of our very diverse neighborhoods have the opportunity to live their dreams, to pursue their dreams, to be able to participate and contribute to the fabric of this city, socially and economically. And this committee, you have led such important strategies for this city and really making us, that's why we're one of the greatest cities in the world. We can build a beautiful city and have beautiful parks and infrastructure, but this committee and council really take to heart and take it seriously to ensure that we support the people. It's the people that we have in our city, our residents, that give the city its heart and that bring it to life and make it so vibrant and make it one of the greatest cities to live, work, and play. I'm not going to say very much more because it's really too emotional. Just thank you very much, and I do promise to stay in touch. And now you've given me the challenge. I will bake some pastries or cake or whatever and bring it to, it'll probably be in the fall because my family's keeping me pretty busy this summer. But I promise to bring you some of my baked goods at one of your meetings. Thank you very much. And I wish you continued success in all of you do, and I will continue to participate and contribute because I will always be a proud Torontonian.
Yay. Thank you so much, Madam DCM. Members, let's proceed with the agenda review. We have 7 items on the agenda, and I think that there will be an additional item of new business that will be coming from Councillor Cressy. And Councillor Cressy will be here shortly. The first item is EC 23.1, supporting a safe reopening in the business and cultural sector. There will be a staff presentation, so I will hold this one down in my name. The second item is item EC 23. The second item is item EC 23.2, Downtown West Service and Facilities Review. It's a work plan progress. There are speakers on that item, so I will hold that item. The next item is EC 23. Just give me 1 second, members. Bye. Thank you. Bye. EC 23.3, Youth Service Review, Investing in Youth Outcomes. I'm just going to hold
Mr.
that.
Chair, Councillor Carroll, I'd like to hold that.
Yes, Councillor Carroll. I'll hold that in your name. Thank you. Holding that item in Councillor Carroll's name. The next item is EC 23.4, St. Jamestown Community Food Table.
Mr. Chair, Councillor Cressy asked me to hold that one in his name.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Carroll. I'll hold that in Councillor Cressy's name.
Okay.
Okay. Moving right along, the next item is EC 23.5, Development of an Industry-Led Live Music Venue Insurance Program. What say you, members? Can I have a mover of that item?
Move receipt, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Carroll. Members, Councillor Carroll's moving receipt of the item. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. The next item is EC 23.6, changes to the Mount Pleasant Village Business Improvement Area Board of Management. What say you, members? Vice Chair Grimes moving the item. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. And then the next item is EC 23.7, amendment to a non-competitive blanket contract number 47022-957 with our Courier for the provision of courier services for COVID-19 related documents and specimens. Deputy, okay. Councillor Lai is moving the item. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Madam Clerk, the new business, you have not received that? We'll just wait. All right, fair enough. Thank you. Members, I know that Councillor Cressy's office is working on an item that we'd like to add for new business, but we'll come back to that. I would now like to turn to the first item. It's a presentation by staff supporting a safe reopening in the business and cultural sector. We have Marilyn Nichols, Acting Director, Program Support, Economic Development and Culture, and Tobias Navrogowski, Acting Director, Business Growth Services, Economic Development and Culture. Both will present. I know we also have the Acting General Manager of Economic Development, Ms. Cheryl Blackman is here. Ms. Blackman, I didn't know whether or not you wanted to offer any comments before the presentation, or do you wish to simply lead your staff in order to start the presentation? So I'll turn it over to you, and then you will direct as to how you'd like to see things happen.
Good morning, Deputy Mayor, and good morning, committee, and thank you for that. Just very brief remarks. As promised, I wanted to make sure that the team in Economic Development and Culture did come back and do a update to the committee regarding the work that we've been doing in response to COVID-19. So the work that EDC has been doing since March 2020 has been focused on the immediate needs to mitigate impacts of the pandemic on Toronto's business and cultural sectors, while supporting the city's efforts to deal with the public health crisis through staff redeployments. During this time, EDC staff provided extensive support for industry consultation and contributed to both the TOR report as well as the Building Back Stronger report, both of which provided key recommendations that now guide the division's work as we move into reopening and towards recovery. We'll be sharing a screen and a presentation as indicated from the Deputy Mayor. We're joined this morning by Marilyn Nichols, Acting Director, Program Support, and Acting Director, Business Growth Services, Tobias Navrogowski, to walk us through the presentation. And with that, I turn it over to the team and ask if we could please put the presentation up on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. And next slide, please. So thank you, Cheryl, and good morning, committee members. Despite efforts from all orders of government, the pandemic has had devastating impacts on certain groups of workers and certain types of businesses and cultural industries in Toronto. For example, restaurants, personal care services, and many other small retail-based businesses have faced extensive closures and uncertainty. Tourism, accommodation, and hospitality have been hit hard, and key segments of the cultural sector, live music venues, theaters, dance studios, and so forth, were among the first to be closed and are anticipated to be among the last to be allowed to reopen fully. As a result, in addition to focusing in the near term on safe reopening, EDC's priority for 2021, 2022, and beyond will be on supporting inclusive economic and cultural recovery. Why? Because economic growth without an intentional focus on equity is not full prosperity. It's not sustainable, and it will leave our community vulnerable to future economic shocks. Building back better has to mean that we drive equity through prosperity and prosperity through equity. Today's presentation will focus on EDC's effort to support safe reopening, and we will come back to a future meeting of this committee to report on EDC's work to support recovery for sectors and communities that have been most impacted by the pandemic. Next slide, please. So the roadmap to reopening is Ontario's three-step plan to safely and gradually lift public health measures based on the ongoing progress of province-wide vaccination rates and improvements to key public health and healthcare indicators. This morning at 12:01 a.m., 2 days ahead of schedule, Ontario moved into Step 2. As indicated on this slide, a key trigger for moving into Step 2 is having achieved at least 70% of adults vaccinated with one dose and 20% being fully vaccinated. The province will remain at each step for at least 21 days to evaluate any impacts on key public health and health system indicators. So now we're in Step 2, and that involves further expanding outdoor activities and the resumption of limited indoor services with small numbers of people and with face coverings continuing to be worn. So we will see now allowed groups of up to 6 people per table permitted for outdoor dining, although indoor dining remains prohibited. Personal services like haircuts and manicures are permitted, they are back, providing that people can keep their masks on the entire time and capacity is limited to 25%. And essential retail capacity now moves to 50% and non-essential retail to 25% capacity, while non-essential stores inside malls are now permitted to open with some restrictions. And finally, outdoor concert venues, theaters, and cinemas with spectators are permitted at 25% capacity. So we're making progress. Next slide, please. Our efforts to support safe reopening involve a combination of existing services and strategies that have been refocused or reprofiled for COVID-19 safe reopening purposes, along with a number of new programs and initiatives specifically developed to address pandemic-related challenges and needs facing our stakeholders. We'll make reference to both kinds of supports as we go through the next few slides. Next slide, please. To support the safe reopening of the business and cultural sectors, EDC is performing 4 key functions, or pulling hard on 4 key levers. Details will be provided on the next few slides, but at a high level, first, we are serving as a source of trusted and accurate information on reopening-related guidelines, regulations, and resources. That's the inform component. Second, we are supporting sectors and businesses to adapt to a changed operating environment, which addresses the pressures of the pandemic itself, but also in several cases by helping businesses and sectors to look forward and adopt new, innovative practices that can be sustained and continue to pay dividends after the pandemic. Third, EDC continues to be an important, stable funder of many businesses and sectors through our various grant and incentive programs. We don't have, as a municipal government, the deep pockets or broad tax base or ability to borrow money for operating purposes like the provincial and federal governments do, but we still have an important stabilizing role to play as a funder where municipal government contributions can have an impact. And last but not least, we are supporting local businesses and sectors through the direct provision or amplification of promotional efforts aimed to boost consumer confidence, encourage residents to patronize local businesses, and bring positive attention and profile to Toronto's vibrant business and cultural sectors, organizations, and establishments. Next slide, please. And over to Marilyn.
Thank you, Tobias. Good morning, committee members. So as Tobias has indicated, as Toronto moves through the Ontario's roadmap to reopening, one of the key supports the city can provide is to be a key source of comprehensive information for reopening guidelines, regulations, and resources. To that end, the Economic Development and Culture Division has worked closely with the Toronto Public Health and various citywide divisions to ensure public health messaging and sector-specific guidelines are available for both the business and culture sectors. We have ensured that the Toronto.ca business recovery web pages contain a comprehensive listing of all of these resources, and these are at all levels of government. We've created a portal that allows people to find their way through the various supports available. The team has also developed and is delivering now live and on-demand reopening webinars and provides one-to-one support to businesses through the Business TO Support Center. Next slide, please. We are also proactively reaching out to business community and culture sectors to ensure that they are aware of these resources. Early on in the pandemic, we developed the Business TO and Culture TO newsletters to support direct communication with the business and culture sectors. These newsletters have a healthy subscription base of close to 70,000 industry members, and we issue newsletters on a weekly basis. At that time, we also developed the Business TO and Culture TO social media channels, which were consolidated list social media groupings of channels that we had previously of followers in the industry sectors. We use these channels on a daily basis to post content as well as reshare content from other city, federal, and provincial government and divisions, as well as partner and ecosystem content when applicable. Starting in July, next week is the launch of the campaign. We will be implementing a paid digital campaign targeting industry and businesses, including social and search advertising, to raise awareness of these resources that are available, to businesses and the culture sector for safe reopening and economic recovery. And we have and will continue to share information with all members of Council through the weekly Thursday Councillor packages coordinated through strategic communications that can then be shared with your business constituents. Next slide, please, and back to Tobias.
Thanks, Marilyn. Adaptation supports for culture-based industries are highlighted on this slide. So working with film producers to support Section 21 health and safety guidelines, communicating changes to these guidelines, and conveying to the public the safety record of the film industry. So specifically, the Toronto Film Office, along with unions and producers, developed detailed guidelines to maintain the highest possible levels of safety in all departments involved in physical film production. These guidelines were approved by the Ministry of Labour. As a result, after the initial lockdown, the film industry rapidly rebounded, and since the fall of 2020, production volumes have been at record levels. EDC's Film Office has also supported productions in adapting to the new protocols and worked to keep the industry operating by enhancing communication to Torontonians about the stringent health protocols which safeguard the productions that residents may see on location. Second item here is supporting and sharing leading research on global best practices in culture sector reopening. So EDC partnered with Ryerson University and entertainment industry players to produce a guide for the safe reopening of performance venues. Hashtag Lights On, Recovery and Reboot in Live Entertainment. The guide was produced by Ryerson University's School of Creative Industries, the Toronto Arts Council, and the Toronto Arts Foundation, with support from the City of Toronto, TO Live, SOCAN, and the Toronto Alliance for the Performing Arts. EDC is also supporting first movers in the creative sectors to drive cultural animation in public space and to unlock new creative spaces. Specifically, EDC has pulled together a package of funding, technical assistance, and marketing support to enable arts groups to safely present in public spaces this summer and throughout the fall. EDC support will enable arts organizations to program in public space by providing funding to scale projects already supported by the city through its cultural granting programs and those of the Toronto Arts Council. City production and event support staff will also assist organizations to mount work compliant with public safety requirements in public spaces like parks, road closures, and along retail main streets. And finally, work will include musical performances, theater, and performance art that will help animate neighborhoods across Toronto with a focus on hard-hit areas and equity-seeking communities and artists. Next slide, please. 3 other key business adaptation supports are highlighted on this slide. So back on June 14th, the city, in partnership with the Toronto Region Board of Trade, launched the Toronto COVID-19 Rapid Screening Initiative for small and medium-sized businesses, which provides free rapid antigen screening kits to businesses with 150 or fewer employees for use by staff, not customers. Rapid screening is another tool in the toolbox to support safe reopening and help businesses and workers adapt to change business operating conditions. Toronto's role in this partnership is to operate 4 screening kit pickup locations in all 4 quadrants of the city. And as of last week, over 500 businesses had picked up or ordered screening kits, and we'd expect by the end of this week that number to be closer to 800 to 1,000. EDC is also continuing to assist other divisions with the rollout of the Cafe TO and Curb TO programs, which at root involve the adaptation of city space to support business activities in new and creative ways. The Cafe TO program, of course, provides space for expanded outdoor dining areas to help restaurants and bars impacted by COVID-19. More recently, EDC has been instrumental in promoting opportunities for restaurants to expand or create patios on private property in Toronto as well. And lastly, EDC has been providing ongoing assistance for small businesses and artists to adapt to e-commerce through the highly regarded Digital Main Street and Shop Here programs. Next slide, please.
So one of the greatest supports we have provided to the business and culture sectors throughout the pandemic, and will continue to do so, is through reopening, is to deliver more than 37 million in annual financial support through EDC's existing grant programs to ensure funding stability for Toronto's businesses and culture sectors. So approximately 5 million of this funding will support business improvement areas, business incubation and commercialization partners, community economic development initiatives, and the starter company and summer company grant programs. We've also provided enhanced funding to BIAs to support cultural animation during reopening as part of the Show Love TO program, and also additional support to creative industries through paid performance opportunities, business adaptation, and support to music and film organizations. An additional 32 million in culture sector funding has been provided through Toronto Arts Council's city-led programs and Artworks TO. City cultural funding has been balanced the need to provide predictable support to clients, as well as ensuring that clients can demonstrate need and a responsiveness to economic and cultural recovery efforts. Next slide, please. So as part of our reopening efforts, we, as a division, have supported Toronto's artists and culture organizations in bringing the city back to life through major city-led arts and heritage programs. We have engaged more than 1,700 artists, dozens of arts organizations through three key programs, including Show Love TO, which launched briefly in 2020, but will make its return in September 2021. And I'll speak to that in a bit more detail in just a minute. We also have Artworks TO, Toronto's Year of Public Art, launching this coming September and running through 2022. And the Awakenings program at Toronto History Museums, which launched virtually at the end of 2021, but will be gradually moving into in-person programming this fall as health restrictions allow. So aligned with the Show Love TO programs, EDC will also roll out the Show Love to Local promotional campaign in September to welcome Toronto residents back to the city they love and encourage support for local businesses and culture. Next slide, please. So this is a overview of the Show Love TO campaign, which will be Toronto's official Welcome Back campaign. The campaign and programs will focus on 4 key areas: showing love to local eats, showing love to local shops, encouraging people to engage with neighborhood strolls, and cultural animation throughout the city. So the advertising campaign will have a range of photography-based creatives shot on location across Toronto, celebrating the joy that local shops, restaurants, and businesses offer us all, reminding us that they are at the heart of the unique identity of our city's amazing neighborhoods. The campaign will run for 8 weeks, starting around the second week of September, and will utilize out-of-home media, including billboards, transit shelters, and TTC vehicle posters, broadcast, digital, and social advertising. The various creative executions will aim to keep the message of shopping and supporting local top of mind, as well as profile the range of programs being developed as part of the Show Love TO campaign. So details of these programs will be released in September. At a high level, they will include a number of dining programs aligned to our focus on local eats. As part of our focus on local shops, we will have a number of social and digital promotions that businesses and the public can participate in. Our neighborhood strolls will include close to 200 self-guided tours available to public that will help people discover hidden gems in their own neighborhoods, as well as explore new neighborhoods that they may never have been to before. And as I previously referenced, we have also engaged more than 1,700 artists to beautify and re-energize the city's streets and public spaces with public artworks, lighting installations, projection art, and live performances. And also, we have partnered with numerous BIAs and community groups to contribute to local activations across the city. So with that, I'd like to turn to Cheryl to say a few final words.
So thank you, Tobias and Marilyn, for the presentation. And I would also like to thank Marguerite Piggott, Pat Tobin, Joanne Pinn for their leadership in film and entertainment industries, arts and cultural services, and museums and heritage services. EDC is working on a range of longer-term economic and cultural recovery initiatives in collaboration with the industry. We will update the committee on these initiatives when we meet in the fall. So on behalf of the entire team in Economic Development and Culture, I want to extend congratulations to Deputy City Manager Giuliana Carbone for her retirement. We will miss you tremendously, Giuliana, and thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I will now ask committee members if there are any questions. While I couldn't see you while the presentation was being made, I can see you now. I see that Councillor Carroll has questions. Councillor Carroll, you may begin. You have 5 minutes. Thank you. I'll keep a list.
Yeah, it's just a quick one. I love the timing of the show Love starting in the fall, because as we know, in September people spend a lot of money. It's when your kids are school aged, some people call September worse than Christmas. And so if we can get them doing that locally, that's great. But my question is this. We went into the pandemic. One of the things that we were assured in this committee was that we were going to do everything we could to make sure that our local businesses, particularly merchants, retail merchants, were going to have whatever support they needed if they didn't have an online platform, so that they could continue to function online. We were going to have this digital Main Street program. I'm wondering if as part of this, you've had a look at how successful that was. Did it increase capacity for some? And is it a feature that's going to remain to help small businesses compete now that people's shopping patterns may have changed for in some ways permanently?
Through the chair, thank you for this question. We've seen that Digital Main Street, in fact, is now enjoying its first anniversary, has been tremendously successful. And I'll turn to Tobias to add some additional context in regards to the response to your question, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Carroll, and through the chair. The program has had a terrific response. The city directly funds 10 digital squad members who work directly with businesses to bring them into this program, bring them online. And the program obviously is enjoying a wide resonance across both Ontario and even Canada. It is being funded now nationally, and it will be taken to scale in that regard. So longer term, other order of government funding for programs of this kind will remain to be seen, but certainly for the next couple of years, this will be an effort that governments are making together to help businesses to transform and operate in an online environment in an ongoing way.
Hey, that's fantastic. I'm glad that you're tracking it, so we know it's we've measured its success, which is awesome. But I'm wondering if we continue on to look at what else can we do with that. I'm thinking we wanted through the Show Love program get people, hit an avenue with shops, a BIA area or whatever, and even one outside your neighborhood, get to know it. But are we also are we looking at some ways of taking that digital capacity and building on that? I know I ask because there are even such things as Amazon. Even most of these people are trying to compete with Amazon. Amazon even does a Buy Canadian Day, where they, at the top of the page, it's look at these businesses first. I think we even have to compete with that, because they're now looking at various communities' buy local campaigns and competing back with us. So we need to have sort of a digital Show Love TO to make sure that we're not, building their capacity, spending all this money on ads for the Show Love program, and then having other platforms try and masquerade as a shop local type of program. Are we looking at some of that? Will we see some of that in the future?
So
Yeah.
through the chair. Sorry, really quick. Through the chair, I will say that, we are definitely very kind of focused on the idea of digital first and the way that it affects, the way that we respond and support businesses. We have seen that over 3,700 businesses have been supported to date, and we are looking very closely at, Shop Here as an add-on to Digital Main Street and really this idea of supporting digital stores. So we are quite focused on the digital response as part of our actions in EDC. And Tobias, if you'd like to add anything.
Yeah, thank you, Cheryl. And through the chair, in addition to what Cheryl just mentioned, EDC through the BIA office, manages an innovation fund, and we'd be looking to be able to support and extend that fund if possible. And that innovation fund should provide opportunities for BIAs and their members to further explore and extend the digital space so that businesses which are operating locally now can operate beyond locally once they move online, which is the opportunity that digital platforms provide.
Thank you. Those are
Fantastic news. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Carroll. Just seeing Councillor Lai to question, please. Go ahead, please, Councillor Lai.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, staff, for a wonderful, very good report. And I just have a few questions surrounding on the language piece. You have quite a number of. I'm just wondering whether whether the promotion and the marketing would have some language that people were speaking the different languages. Just give you an example about that rapid testing distribution. You said that there are a lot. There are 4 pickup locations, and how are you communicating it to the community, the business community that don't speak English? I'm just wondering whether there's anything you're doing on that.
Through the chair, thank you for your question, Councillor Lai. Certainly, the team in EDC does recognize that this is some effort that we have to put in to improve and enhance the services that we are delivering in a multilingual way. I will just turn to Tobias to see if he'd like to add anything to that, and to Marilyn from a marketing point of view, just regarding our strategies around offering our marketing in different languages.
Thank you, Cheryl. It's certainly something we continue to look at. We are promoting this program through our regular channels, but that also includes engagement with ethnic business associations who have some capacity to take that material and information and communicate it to their members. Every time we bring a new program online, though, we do need, as you're saying, Councillor, to take a careful look at whether we're able as a city to produce multilingual communication products and services. And it's something we'll continue to take a careful look at.
Just on the side, can we Google Translate the site into different languages? I mean, like the Toronto.ca can. Some of the sites can. I mean, some of the portions can.
Through the chair, Marilyn can speak to the marketing supports. And Marilyn?
Yes, so the website can be translated through Google Translate for sure. And our promotional campaign will also include multilingual advertising. We're doing digital advertising in multilingual, as well as we are working with Rogers as a partner. And we have access then to Omni as well as a partnership through this campaign.
The Omni is a good one because, they're ethnic media and they have a lot of different languages in their programs. On the Digital Main Street platform, you were saying that we have assisted about 3,700 businesses are supported, and you have 10 members bringing people online. And I'm just wondering whether you have the language capacity for helping people that don't speak English on the Digital Main Street piece.
Through the chair, Councillor Lai, because this work is also supported by Google and Google Translate does also exist, I'm sure there are supports available, but I will also turn to Tobias to see whether there's any specifics that we can offer you at this time. If not, we'd be happy to follow up with you with further details on this particular question.
Thank you, Cheryl. That's something that we would need to look into further to understand which specific languages the individuals who are providing that support to businesses are able to work in. We can go back and take a careful look at that. That's an organization that is working with Tabia to provide that support at this time. So we'll look into that further.
Just to give you an example, I heard that the Digital Main Street have a training session if you can actually provide them in a few different languages, I think my office would be more than happy actually to support the enrollment of people that go in there. Like if you can host it in Mandarin or whatever, I think it will be a good thing to help all these vulnerable businesses when they don't even be able to tap into our services. My next question. Yes,
we can absolutely, through the chair, we can absolutely do that, and we will follow up with you for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. And my next question would be on the funding piece. $37 million financial support and $5 million to the BIA. Will Scarborough business receive a fair share of this funding support?
Through the chair, we're working very, very closely with our stakeholders to ensure that equity is a centerpiece for the work that we're doing. So it is our intention to make sure that equity does live throughout the work we're doing. In terms of these supports that we've done within Scarborough, some examples are some supports that we've offered to the Federation of Asian Canadians on bringing the Woodside Square Film Festival to Agincourt North. We are working on the LASSOs, the local arts networks as well, to make sure that the funding is equitably distributed. So it is our intention to really consider the funding that we're providing and to make sure that it's provided equitably.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. My last question.
No, Councillor Lai? Okay, I'll give you a last question. Go ahead. You're at 5:07, but go ahead, please.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, just my last question. Have you considered doing a property tax break to some of these businesses as part of the recovery program?
Through the chair, we are looking at tax relief as part of a longer-term strategy, but that is something that is work in progress, and we will certainly report back to this committee at the point that we have solid information to share.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very
Mr.
much,
Chair.
Councillor Lai. I'm just seeing whether or not there are any further questions from members. All right, just a couple of quick ones for me, please. So we know that, according to the presentation, that you're looking at early September to late October. So that's the sort of start, or is that the full duration of the program? I'm just wondering what happens in 2022, because we know that there's going to obviously be some time before businesses really do get back to the pre-pandemic footing, if you will. Just wondering, what is the game plan there going forward beyond what we have as part of the presentation?
So through the chair, thank you for that question. The Show Love TO campaign does kick off in the middle of September. We do anticipate the program continuing through to December. We do understand that there's a need for a sustainment campaign and for us to consider the campaign going into a phase 2. And I'll turn to Marilyn to add any additional context along the delivery and execution of the timeline.
Yes, so right now the campaign that we are rolling out will be 6 to 8 weeks, but knowing that we will be moving through different phases, we do have funds available to build a second phase advertising campaign. The programs will also continue through to the end of the year, and we are looking through the budget 2022 process to look at what we can do in terms of extending the Show Love TO campaign.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I'm just wondering, things like Dine TO done together, how does one sort of get on a list? How does one sort of subscribe to these programs? I'm just wondering, how are we sort of promoting that information to ensure that businesses and individuals can actually be really engaged?
Through the chair, thank you for the question. We certainly have a number of lists in our employ already to be able to engage with and to make sure that business owners are able to participate. And I will turn to Marilyn to add any of the mechanics regarding the execution of the actual program.
So yes, as you've indicated, Cheryl, we will be returning to participants in Licious programs, as well as using our Business TO and Culture TO newsletters and social channels, and all our channel partners. We hope to work with counselors in all wards to provide information through our weekly counselor updates that can be shared with constituents in each ward. And we will also include this in our business targeted advertising campaign in the summer to indicate when pre-registration is available, so that businesses will be able to respond to the opportunity.
Thank you very much for that. People going back to work will be essential to assisting the recovery for a business. Lots of conversation now from a lot of different sectors that people have indicated. Some have indicated an interest of, liking the model that they're working in now, working from home and so on. I suspect that as we move forward, there'll be a hybrid and I guess at some point maybe a full situation where people will return back to work, because you need the capacity of people going to work to be able to shop and have lunches, etc., frequent the restaurants and bars. And if that doesn't really happen, we won't realize the recovery that we are planning. So I guess my question is, how are we planning to encourage, as part of our promotional activities, people going back to work? And I know that it's not fully an economic development perspective. I'm just wondering, as the broader, more comprehensive lens, as we looked at that, how are all the different departments working together in order to ensure that that happens and will have the economic impact?
Thank you for the question to the chair. We are certainly looking at and partnering with our colleagues in the Toronto Region Board of Trade, working on the Financial District Pilot Zone. We are working in partnership with Destination Toronto, our colleagues in the aviation industry at Billy Bishop Airport. It really is a concerted effort by a number of agencies and organizations to work collectively to ensure that we are driving confidence and really moving forward this idea that, returning to the downtown core, returning to the workplace can be done, especially through our efforts to vaccinate Torontonians, to test Torontonians with rapid testing, to make sure that we are, in fact, creating the environment for a safe return to the workplace. I will also just add that, the work that we're doing is also in concert with the Toronto Transit Commission. All of these efforts, when brought together, create the environment for folks to return safely to the workplace, and EDC is at the center of these conversations, working with our partners to ensure that this is part of the effort that happens going forward.
Thank you very much. Those are all my questions. To speak, I'm just looking at the screen. Anyone wishing to speak? Councillor Carroll? Okay, you may begin. 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I don't need 5 minutes. I'm really happy to hear that there's the combination of getting people back onto our shopping avenues with Show Love TO, but a really concerted effort on the digital front. I think that we're going to have to look at that moving by going to local venues to also add to it, shop online locally, because you can do that now. We've made that possible with all the efforts in digital mainstreaming, but there's so often you take the easiest path, which is to get on the biggest site that springs to mind. And so to continue to develop ways, portals where people find the local merchants, have the convenience of digital, but keep our local businesses alive in doing so, I think is something we're going to have to look at. Because as I mentioned in my question, I'm starting to notice that the big platforms, the mega platforms, are using language to make you feel like you're supporting local businesses by hitting Walmart. Look, it's Canadian made, or would you like us to help you find the local manufacturers, but only the ones that we sell on our platform? So I'm happy to hear that staff are wrapping their minds around this. I think we're going to have to really continue to do it, and it maybe has to become a feature of the economic development that every local councillor does. We all like to push people towards our our local businesses, we're going to have to include, and yes, they do DoorDash and Skip the Dishes, or you should check their online site as well. Go and see their shop, but once you've seen it, know that they're always available to you online. It's just going to have to become a part of our regular economic development language to counteract the change in retail patterns that COVID has caused. So I'm super happy to hear that the staff are already there and working on that. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councillor Carroll. Just looking at the screen, Councillor Lai, go ahead, please. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First off, I'd like to thank Economic Development staff for doing a wonderful job for this very comprehensive report, and has been working with my office, trying to make sure that some of the vulnerable business owners are being assisted. And, you know, a lot of small business owners in Toronto, not just my ward, they are new immigrants, they're new Canadians, you know, they really, that's why I cannot stress enough the importance of having the multi-language piece, so that to assist them to understand what the city is trying to help them to go through the recovery stage. And I really liked the way that at the presentation that Tobias was saying something like, you know, prosperity. We cannot afford to have we have to sustain the prosperity. We wanted to avoid another economic shock for the people that are coming out of the pandemic. So that's very important that we will be. Economic development staff are working very hard on that. And just give an example, we've been working hard on getting the drive-in TO into my ward with the film. And that's very helpful because, you know, people will appreciate, and the owners of the malls very appreciative of what the city's been doing for them. And that's very important. And just wanted to give my assistance, we can actually do some of the trainings in digital Main Street in different languages. I think Susanna Vax from your office has been we've been talking, and she said that she, you can help us to do it in different languages, and I can actually volunteer to do my language translation for you. But all in all, I really just want to thank staff. You're doing a wonderful job. Your team, Cheryl, has been very, very helpful, and you've been very, very anticipating, and you've been listening, and you've been, engaging with the community. And I hope that you can. I like the idea of your communication to the councillor's office weekly. I think it's very important that all the councillors know what you have in place for our business owners. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I gave you back my 1 minute of time there.
No worries. Thank you very much, Councillor Lai. Just seeing whether or not there's anyone else wishing to speak and just looking at the screen. All right. Thank you. Let me just take a moment to thank Ms. Blackman for her leadership and her team, Marilyn and Tobias. I know that we've spent many hours working with staff on what is a comprehensive plan to focus on supporting business in a safe reopening. And so the business and cultural sector, recognizing their importance, recognizing the difficulties and challenges that they have had as a result of the pandemic. And I guess the truth of the matter is that many were having challenges before the pandemic, and the pandemic just sort of amplified that. And so it is necessary for us, when we say that we're in this together, that it's not just simply words. There are deeds associated with that. There are actions, there are investments, and the $37 million, it's a lot of money going into the variety of different sectors in the cultural sector and the business sector, because we know we want to work with businesses. We also know, as we emphasize the BIAs are a small portion of the actual businesses that are in this city. They are extremely important. They're in our main street and so on. And so we have to work with them because it has an effect that sort of creates a wave. If it is a small wave the reaction and the reach is not great. Bigger waves create more opportunities, and I would say that what we're trying to do is to demonstrate the magnitude of the wave that we want to actually expand into the business and the cultural sector and so on, not simply to give confidence, but in essence to create a positive storm where economic vibrancy, activities will take place, people will be comforted in terms of understanding that all the safety measures and precaution has been taken and so on. We work with the province, the federal government to bring the rapid testing kits out to businesses. Ms. Blackman and I and the province have had meetings and the mayor's office and so on, and we are here. And as members who have all been involved in this process as members of the committee, that demonstrating to the public that we understand the challenges and we know that there are things that we have to do in collaboration with you, members of the public, business community, the cultural sector, and so on, to ensure that we're all in this together, to have a comprehensive plan for reopening and recovery. I note that the issue around languages, it's really important, and Councillor Law, I thank you for that, to ensure that we don't miss the beat to provide information so that people understand how our programs work, how our programs can help them in the languages that they speak, and how they respond to their customers and so on. And I wanted, again, just to say that we've looked at the TOR report, we've looked at the Building Back Better, we've, the leadership, of course, the mayor, and of course, Chris Murray, and all of the groups coming together with respect to our collective efforts to ensure that we have a strong economy going forward. And of course, this is all being done as part of a safety protocol, safety process to ensure that there's a level of confidence. I want to encourage people to support and shop local, and Councillor Carroll pointed out about the digital component part of it. That has been, certainly for many businesses, a lifesaver. We're moving forward. I remember, it seems like maybe 9 years ago or 10 years ago, or maybe more, when we introduced the digital Main Street. I remember introducing at FCM and working with the companies that were involved. People didn't understand what we were talking about. Well, it's taken that long to really validate the benefits of that. And so we know that these things do take time. Happy that we have this system in place, because at the time when we introduced it, I remember going to FCM to introduce it, and people thought, that's not going to work. Well, we know that these things do work. Because we're living proof of it, and so it's working. And so I'm very proud of the work as members of the committee we're all doing, and members of staff. So I look forward to obviously continuing our work to help businesses. And as Ms. Blackman has indicated, we continue to, and Ms. Nichols has indicated as well, we continue to work and to monitor and watch and gauge things as we move forward. The work doesn't stop with this report, it continues. So again, thank you to the staff for this report. And I'm just looking at the screen to see if anybody else wanted to speak. I see no one else wishing to speak. So members, I'm going to basically move receipt of the presentation. So all those in favor, opposed, that's carried. Thank you very much. And just before we move to the next item, and Councillor Kresge, I'll just alert you, this is your item, and I know we've got a number of speakers. That is EC 23.2, Downtown West Service and Facilities Review Plan Work Progress. I just wanted to also ensure that we would confirm the minutes of our last meeting, which was on May the 26th. So, Vice Chair, Councillor Kresge, I see your hands up first. Councillor Kresge is moving the minutes. All those in favor, opposed, that's carried. Thank you. Madam Clerk, we're now moving to EC 23.2, and we have 3 speakers. Is that correct? And the first speaker, I'm going to pronounce a name, and I apologize in advance if I do not pronounce your name correctly, and you could do it for me if I don't pronounce it correctly. But
Chair, I could do it for you if you'd like, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kresge, but let me try. Thank you. I'll give it the yeoman's try. And we can do it together. How's that? That's collaboration. Thank you. Zanab El Dadri, Alexandra Park Community Center. How was that, Councillor Kresge? Did I get that at all?
It is the famous Zainab Eldardiri.
Yeah.
Zainab, do we have you on the line? This is a Price is Right moment. Come on down, Chair.
Zaina, Councillor Cressy's, that introduction, Zaina has dropped off apparently, so we'll see whether or not we can get her back. So Councillor Cressy, do you want to introduce the next person, or do you want me to do it? Because these are all your constituents. Madam Clerk, we're sharing you the burden.
Labib Chowdhury. Is Labib on the line?
Yep, I'm here.
Good morning, Mr. Chowdhury.
Labib, this is your Price is Right moment. I'll turn it back to the chair, but welcome.
Thanks very much, Councillor Cressy. You have 5 minutes to speak, sir.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So, can I begin?
Yes, you may. Please.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. I've been enjoying being part of this meeting so far and hearing about all the accomplishments that Giuliana has made. And even though I'm only seeing most of you all for the first time, I thank you all for all the work that you all do. So over the next couple of minutes, I'd like to spend some time to highlight the importance of the Alexander Park Community Center to the community of Alexander Park, and the highly asked for need for core funding to ensure the center can remain a space for programming, healing, creativity, and a place for that fosters understanding, cooperation, and social cohesion. So the center is the heartbeat of our community. As a resident who grew up in Alexander Park and now a youth worker for Scatting Court Community Center, which is actually 5 minutes away from the Alexander Park Community Center, and a close partner, I know firsthand the impact this place has on our youth. A safe space for young people to congregate, to find employment opportunities, raise their voice and advocate for their needs during community town halls, be part of regular programming, and receive mentorship. Over the past year, I want to highlight how integral the center has been in supporting the mental health of young people growing up in the community. As we are all aware, the pandemic has caused many of us to adjust to new standards, which have left many youth isolated and without a place to seek support. Even with in-person programming being canceled for much of the past year, that did not stop the center from finding ways to engage our young people and keep them connected. Alexander Park Community Center and Scatting Court Community Center over the past year have partnered to develop the HeartWorks program, a program that aims to deal with mental health and substance abuse problems faced by youth within our community. An online space intended to provide education, create a safe environment for youth to connect, and build resiliency through fun and interactive workshops. We host workshops every week on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. tackling various mental health and art-related topics such as goal setting, creative writing, addiction, village circles with former residents, entrepreneurship, and much more. It is meant to be a space for youth to express themselves and feel comfortable sharing their experiences while also learning from amazing facilitators from across the city. Before the program began, we held a session with a subsection of youth from the community and learned about what topics they might be interested in to develop our schedule. We've been getting around 20 to 25 youth per session, and participants receive a $15 e-gift card for each workshop they attend. So this opportunity was actually funded by Toronto Public Health through the Toronto Urban Health Fund, and was actually initially rejected, but when we first submitted our proposal, it took two residents by the name of Obeda and Mugdat to create a poetry piece highlighting the need of mental health support in our community for our application to be reassessed and later accepted. This is a testament to the dedication of our youth, that the youth have in our community to the well-being of their peers and the support of the center. And lastly, I just want to highlight the strong mentorship model that the community has upheld over the generations. The current executive director, Mohsen, and program director, Kylie, were both residents who grew up in Alexander Park and found support through their mentors such as Bob Ellis, Ron Wynn, and Ken Jeffers. I had a chance to speak to all of them through a youth-led workshop that invited former residents to speak with current generation of young people about their experiences growing up in the community. So I recall of stories Mohsen shared when it came to past leaders being role models for their generation as they ran their lacrosse and basketball programs. I recall their stories of gang violence and how integral these leaders were for youth to seek support from a source of trust when they don't have anybody else to turn to. Growing up in the community, I remember Mohsen as being the go-to guy for children and young people to connect them to opportunities, whether it be landing our first volunteer opportunity, job opportunity, or registering us for programs, or taking us out on field trips. So our parents would connect with one another and always share about the opportunities that the center was running. As a longtime resident and community leader, he built a large and trusting relationship with residents of the community. This is what inspired me to give back to my community and continue down the path of community work, which eventually led me to be hired as a youth worker for Scatting Corps, a position once held by Mohsen himself. So our mentorship model is rooted in bridging the gaps between generations with the hopes of building future leaders that will do the same.
To wrap up for me, please. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And I just want last sentence I want to say is that all the staff you see in the center today are a result of this mentorship model, and I'm a living proof of that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Questions for Mr. Chaudhry? Councillor Carroll, you have 5 minutes, please.
Yes, just a quick question, Labib. Tell me about the space you're in. I remember coming to the old community space in Alexander Park before the revitalization. What space are these? Is the program functioning in now?
So right now, most of our spaces are either online or outdoors, actually, just in front of.
Because of COVID, yes.
Exactly, yeah. So when we run our boxing program, and we still want to ensure that we have like physical activity and like promoting like health exercise with our participants. So instead of being in person inside the gym, we're doing it outdoors in the park. And with our mental health workshops, these are all online. And our incentive, we use gift cards as well as a way of, connecting with our youth and give something nice to provide maybe some food before every meeting.
Fantastic. And is the goal post-pandemic? Do you have a space to function out of within the new project, or are you going to be using Scatting Court space? Do you know at this point?
Yeah, so we plan to move into like the Alexander Park Community Center, either the gym space or the Scatting Court Community Center. They have certain rooms. So we have these spaces available.
Okay, fantastic. I'm going to be asking staff questions about that because I think we have to take what you've experienced and bring it to other places. Thank you for describing it so well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Carroll. Any further questions for Mr. Chaudhry? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, do we have Ms. Eldahari back? She's back. Okay, would you see if we can reach her, please? Okay,
yes,
are you
I'm
there?
back. Yeah.
All right, thank you. I think just before we begin, please.
It's 9 o'clock. I don't know. I was cut off for a moment. So
No problem. Just before we begin, I think Councillor Cressy wanted to introduce you. So I'm just going to turn it over to him again to introduce, because he had a really enlightening introduction for you. Please, Councillor Cressy, go ahead, please.
Well, just for members of the committee who don't know, Zainab is the pillar of, in many ways, downtown West and Alexander Park. And so, Zainab, welcome. You'll have 5 minutes, and we'd love to hear your
Thank
thoughts
you,
on the
Joe.
site.
Thank you very much. Greetings to Honorable Mayor.
No, you have 30 seconds left to speak, okay? And so we'll get you to start now. You have 5 minutes. Go ahead, please.
Greetings to Honorable Mayor John Tory and fellow elected officials. My name is Zainab Eldadiri, and it's my pleasure to be here today to represent my community. I have been a resident of Alexander Park for the past 39 years. I was involved in the revitalization since the beginning in 2009. I was the president of ABRA, which is the board that runs the community center, for several years. Now I'm the president of the Atkinson Housing Cooperative and board of director, and also a member of the Alexander Park Neighborhood Lending Center. I also sit on many committees in the community. For over 30 years, I worked at Ryerson Community School, which brought me closer to the children and the families in the community. Alexander Park is going and through massive changes, both physically and socially, and I am here to ask for your support. Alexander Park Community Center has always been the center hub of our community. It is the place residents go to celebrate together, share food together, grow together, and even mourn together. Through the realization, it is more important than ever that we keep the community together and the bond strong. For many years, the Alexander Park Community Center has had limited to no funds available, yet has continued to support its residents with individuals who volunteers their time and staff who are willing to be underpaid for the work they do. A perfect example would be the amazing work the community center has done since the pandemic and continues to do to support seniors and insulated residents with daily lunches and grocery delivery programs. Many residents are extremely thankful and benefit greatly from this support. Alexander Park has done it a lot, but there are still gaps that need to be filled. Programs for school-age children, also programs for middle-aged adults, such as mental health and support and resources. Our community has had its share of violence. We all know that when programs are available and young people are engaged in both settings, less incidents of violence and gang activity will happen. My hope is that the center receives funding to continue its work and expand its reach to support more residents in our community. We all want to live in a safe community, and I'm done, ready for any questions.
Thank you. You've done this before. Thank you very much. Let me see whether or not there are any questions.
I never did this in my life.
Well, you're just perfect for this. You're a natural.
I'm shaking.
We have questions of you from Councillor Cressy, your favorite councillor.
All right.
Zainab, thank you so much for that. Just for the benefit of other members of the committee here who may not know about the community center in Alexander Park. So today there is an existing community center, but it is an aging community center. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then as part of the revitalization, there are plans and funding to build a new community center, but that won't open for a number of years yet. I just want to make sure that's
correct.
Okay. And then, so
unusual.
And do I understand? We're trying.
Okay.
And so that we all in the committee understand, is it your submission here today that we should endorse the city staff proposal to provide some core funding on an immediate basis before the new community center opens?
As a start, yes, to get the programs and stuff going in the community, and that will be a beginning for the new center.
All right. And well, that clears things up very well for me. Thank you so much, Zainab. No reason for shaking. You did a spectacular
job. I never did public speaking. I never want to go. That's why I called from the phone. I don't want to go on the camera.
Thank you, Zainab.
Perfectly in a setting, but to do a public speaking like that's my first time, and I told Martin it will be my last time.
Well, I hope it's not your last time. You're outstanding.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Any other questions from any member?
See, you're taking over the role already. See, I told you you're outstanding.
No, I chaired I was in my board meeting from 6 o'clock to 15 minutes after 10 last night, and that's why I didn't even get rest or sleep or eat my breakfast.
Thank you so much. Have a great day and stay safe and healthy. All the best. Good luck. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
All right, members, we're moving on to our next speaker. A final speaker on this. All right, on this item is Alban Olive.
Hello?
Hi, you're on, sir. You have 5 minutes to speak. I will tell you when you have 30 seconds left, okay? Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Greetings to the mayor John Tory, elected councillors from the City of Toronto, guests from other community participating. We bring your greetings from the residents and tenants from Atkinson Housing Corporation. We would like to thank the councillor for the great work during the pandemic. My name is Alban Olive. I live with my family at Atkinson Housing Corporation for over 18 years. I am on the board of directors, which involve Alexander Park Residents Association, known as APRA. I'm also the co-chair of the working group and a member of the steering committee at Alexander Park Community Center. I would like to elaborate a little on the working group. The working group meetings are held from Thursday of each month. The first Thursday of each month consists of Atkinson Housing Corporation members, tenants, TCHC tenants, and condo residents, Tridel, TEST, CFDA, Councillor Joe Cressy and team, MP Adam Vam, MPP Chris Glover. That's where decisions are made for the community. Therefore, we have achieved certain things. For 2020, we have achieved 16 Atkinson Housing Co-op, 6.2 million for an affordable housing program. New resident moved into SQ2, successful relocation of 32 households, 2 residents received scholarship with an approximate value of $7,000, 8 contracts worth $93,938, awards $75,000, Alexander Park Social Development Revitalization Grant. In 2020, the working group approved $15,000 to support 4 community initiatives. And I will move on. Speaking from my heart and soul, the community center is the heartbeat of the community. It is the center of our community where social, recreational, and educational activities are provided for the community. Alexander Park is an inclusive, respectful, and safe community where residents can access need programs and services. That's the vision. How will we achieve the vision? Improving safety, enhancing community economic development, increasing social cohesion, engaging residents, presenting community heritage, providing accessible programs and services. I would like to elaborate on safety. During the pandemic, the statistics of crimes remain low in the community. The youths are involved in online training with the community programs. Our objectives for the future: providing safe space for everyone where people feel free. 2, integrate community in safety initiatives. And our actions for the future: continue to support and enhance safe space, build new safe space and apply safe by design principle, communications safely protocol, hold safely activities, create partnership for safety, neighborhood, and police initiatives.
Thank you
During
very
the
much.
pandemic, our community.
Go ahead, please, sir.
During the pandemic, our community center continued to provide lunches for 5 days a week for over 100 seniors in the community, and groceries boxes are once a week for over 100 seniors. Some of our programs will be
You have 30 seconds to complete.
We would like the city to help with our co-funding. We would like a community center navigator from the City of Toronto, and we would like our interim executive director contract for 5 years and paid by the city. We continue to work on our social development plan, which serves as a roadmap for incorporation social development into the revitalization process. As our committee goes through the process of revitalization.
Thank you, sir. You're at 5 minutes. I'll just let you finish the thought.
All right. Before the pandemic, we had delivered visits from different communities from South Africa, Grove, and Lawrence Heights. Thank you very much.
Thank you kindly.
Have a happy Canada Day.
Okay, thank you. Let me see if there's any questions for you. Members, any questions for Mr. Olive? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much, sir. Have a nice day and all the best. Okay, members.
Thank you.
Question of staff. Councillor Cressy and Councillor Carroll, I think you had some questions of staff as well. Did you have questions of staff? Okay, excellent. Councillor Cressy, you may begin.
Just briefly, so that our full committee is on the same page. Denise, so we've heard about the Alexander Park Community Center here. This is, while the city is involved, it's not a city-owned community center. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yes, Councillor Cressy, and my colleague Anania Grant is going to answer the remaining questions.
Oh, sorry, Anania.
Yes, Councillor Cressy.
So it's not city-owned, but the city is involved in the community center. Is that correct?
Very much so, and has been working with the community center for years.
Okay, and as part of the Alexander Park revitalization, a new community center has been budgeted and planned to be built through a Section 37 agreement as part of the revitalization. When do we anticipate that new community center to open?
2026, through the chair, 2026, Councillor Cressy.
Okay, and then the recommendation here in front of us, and I see it is to provide $220,000 from the city in core operating funding starting in 2022 as an immediate investment before the permanent center opens. Is that correct?
That is correct, Councillor.
Okay, so just for the community's benefit and my own, I suppose, in endorsing this report, we will see that $220,000 included in the staff presented budget in 2022. Do I understand that correctly?
Through the chair, yes, that is correct. That is our plan.
Okay. Those are all my questions. Thank you, Anania and Denise, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cressy. Councillor Carroll, to question, please.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. And I'm really aware of the fact these are questions that I could ask the local councillor, but our procedural bylaw doesn't exactly work that way. But I'm just really concerned about the eventual community center that was part of the revitalization settlement. 2026 is coming up on us pretty fast, and I'm worried about slippage because we've seen that up in our area on some of these projects. So in order for it to be opening its doors in 2026, where is it in capital planning and feasibility and design now?
Our planning, through the chair, our planning colleagues are on. So I wonder if Linda, do you want to take that question?
Yes, Linda McDonald, Director of Community Planning. In terms of the capital planning, there was, I can't comment specifically on the capital planning, but the agreements for Alexandra Park include the community center at 20,000 square feet. So that is all part of the revitalization plan through the planning approvals. I don't believe we have an application, a site plan approval yet in for the community center, but we have through the revitalization been expediting all the approvals. So we will make sure that any planning approvals required are coordinated with the timing of delivery of the community center and ensure that we can meet those timelines.
Oh, okay, but nothing is at the point where it could actually be in the pipeline and we could ensure the timing in 2022 budget process, it sounds like, because we're about a month away from when staff would be presenting their first drafts. Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah, so certainly, I mean, the zoning is in place, so that won't delay things, but perhaps I can refer the budget question back to Anania or one of her team.
Well,
Yes.
well, I don't want to hold up the meeting. So if there's a little bit that you know now, but I'm happy to also follow up with the local councillor and you after the fact. I'm just worried you'll see the same sort of timing slippage as we've seen up here a couple of times.
So through the chair, Councillor Carroll, TCHC is responsible for the budget piece of this. And so,
Yeah.
So we can follow up with you offline on some more details on that. But TCHC is holding the budget piece on this.
Okay, I'll speak to this, but I'll take this offline and start by talking to the local councillor. I think we've got to take our lessons learned on the revitalizations and move them around town so that each time we get better. Okay, thank you. Those are my questions. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Carroll. I'm just seeing whether or not there are any further questioners from members on the committee. Nope, seeing none. All right, to speak. Councillor Cressy, wish to speak? And Councillor Carroll thereafter. You may begin, please.
I do, and I'll begin by placing a couple small amendments, and thank you to our city staff and the community for working on these. One is for, in collaboration with TESS, to work towards resuming the pre-COVID Community Navigator pilot project, which was stopped early on account of the pandemic. And then the second is around exploring immediate pop-up opportunities and building on some of the community feedback around the St. Patrick's Market piece. To members of the community, to members of this committee, I just want to thank you for indulging me here for a few minutes to speak about Alexandra Park, and for your time in hearing from some of the exceptional leaders in the community earlier. And I want to also acknowledge, before doing so, just the tireless and excellent work of city staff working on this file in SDFA. Laura Lynn and Aderonke and Anania, our members of this committee, should be very, very proud of our civil service today. Alexandra Park, a neighborhood many of you will know in downtown Toronto, just south of Dundas, west of Spadina. It is a strong, it is a cohesive, it is a deeply caring community. And if I could be very truthful with all of you, as a counselor over the last 7 years, it's probably where I've learned the most about how our city works, around how communities are shaped and built, around what community development from a grassroots perspective truly means. I've learned a lot, and it's been an honor to work with this community. What's underway right now in Alexandra Park is a revitalization. It is a revitalization in partnership between the local community as a community-led process with Toronto Community Housing, Tridel, and our city. And it's a revitalization that's about so much more than replacing the existing homes on site, the more than 700 housing units. Frankly, it's a revitalization which is fundamentally about strengthening an already strong community. Replacing housing, sure, but expanding the amount of affordable housing, integrating social and economic development into the very heart of the revitalization process, and improving the social infrastructure. In this case, the community center in particular. The Alexandra Park Community Center that you just heard about here, it was referenced by a number of the deputants as the heart of a community. That's something we often hear about community centers. In the case of AP, it is the beating heart of the community, without exception. It is a community center not owned by the City of Toronto, though supported through some small grants, that provides services to a diverse community, from childcare to food supports to youth employment and mental health services. It's a community center that builds cohesive, strong communities through gatherings and dinners. It's a community center that is the center of processing grief when it occurs, whether it's the loss of a community member due to age or the loss of a community member due to violence. And it's a community center where I have learned a great deal about our city. It is also a community center that in a brief number of years is about to be completely revitalized and transformed as a brand new center. The capital funding is secured, and the design process is underway. But part of what the report in front of us here is for the city to invest on an operating basis into the Alexandra Park Community Centre, because frankly, it's a model for the city to follow as a community-led strong site. And so what is in front of us today is a staff recommendation to provide $220,000 in 2022 and going forward core operating support. And it's an important and significant step, and it's a testament to the work on the ground, but also to city staff. And I just want to thank them for what they've brought forward and thank our community for leading by example on this. And with that, Mr. Chair, thank you for the indulgence of time, and I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cressy. Councillor Carroll, you may speak.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say that for all of us, because revitalizations, I know there's another wave of putting tenders out. And so social housing revitalizations can happen anywhere. I have a couple in my ward, but the one that I have at Leslie Ninemark, the Villaways, that is now about to open in its new form, started the same time as Alexandra Park. And so, and we were having the same market value partner in Tridel. And so it was arranged with the local councillor, Councillor Vaughn, for me to come down and meet there. Because we knew that community spaces are important. There would be one there. There should be one for our new development. We should really wrap our heads around, is there a formula for success that we need to use? And I'm just so glad that I went down there, because I think many of us know the struggles at times that have happened at Alexandra Park with youth violence and such. But it was really gratifying to see the work that the community was doing itself. But it's all about space. Not the greatest space, but they had the space to get together and problem solve themselves, to be empowered. The space itself is so empowering. I don't know yet that it's absolutely baked into the formula that if you're going to do a revitalization, that the community space needs to be baked into it. Every one of our social housing complexes can benefit from this, from the far east sections of Scarborough, where Councillor Lyon, our committee, represents, all the way over to Rexdale, where Councillor Ford represents. We got to bake these in. It was the Alexandra Park experience that caused me to do that at Villaways, but we also knew at that time that we should secure extra, because some of the youth violence that had gone on, or even just that youth loss of opportunity, was connected from this one complex that was revitalizing to some others around it. And a silver lining of the boundaries changing is that we're now taking some of the proceeds from that development that will now have a built-in youth space as a result of the inspiration from the Zainab's Center that they all described so well, their own experiences. There'll be one of those in the Villaways, but with additional funds secured at that time. We're also creating a youth space at the next nearest one at the Sparrowways. But there's a real challenge in pulling together our capital plan efforts, and with all the pressures that they face at TCHC, making sure that this is a priority in TCHC's capital plan efforts. So I mention this only because, across the committee and later at council, I think we all have to take a lesson from Alexandra Park and start building it in wherever we're revitalizing, making it possible with empty units or whatever in those developments that need it. It's one of the things that I think, as a city partner to TCHC, we've got to help them create wherever they don't exist. We know now from this model that they can help you get through just about anything, including Labib described how they were easily able to go online and keep going in the face of the pandemic, where in our own city list on another report, we see a number of youth programs that have just become inactive. This one kept going. So but it all starts with that space being there in a neighborhood from the get-go. And so I'm really, really pleased about it. And if I could just footnote my own comments in my last half a minute, there was a great conversation this morning before this committee even began, a number of councillors congratulating Councillor Cressy on St. Patrick's Market. Since, 30 years ago when my husband's employer, City TV, moved in across the street and staring at that market and saying, that's our own little mini Chelsea market. When are we going to get our act together? And under Councillor Cressy's leadership, we're finally there. And so I just want to congratulate him on what's about to proceed there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Carroll. Seeing that not there is any additional speakers. Okay, seeing none. Okay, we have Councillor Cressy's motion. Maybe just ask the clerk to put that on the screen, please, and we can vote on that, and then we could continue on. Madam Clerk? Okay. Members, Councillor Cressy's motion is on the screen. It has been read out by Councillor Cressy, so all those in favor? Opposed? Carries. Item as amended. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. We've dispensed with EC 23.2, Downtown West Services and Facilities Review Work Plan. All right, so we are now moving to our next item, which was held by Councillor Carroll, EC 23.3, Youth Service Review, Investing in Outcomes. Councillor Carroll.
Thank you. I just have one quick question, and then I'll ask to speak. Just a quick question. In the implementation guide, I'm really happy with this evaluation framework getting in place. The thing we've been struggling with and unable to do, and further challenged by pandemic, that now puts this framework in place. But I note that the implementation talks about moving from April to the end of the year, and now here we are. Well, it's the day before July. So I'm wondering, is that just a function of the reports a little late getting onto the agenda, and the effort began in April, such that we could keep on track? It could still be done at the end of the year, the first phase?
So through the chair, we have started implementation of some of the work, and you're right around the timing of this versus like formal adoption of the outcomes framework. We need obviously for council to and committee to do that, but we have started the work, assuming that council will be supportive of the direction that we're going in. And as you see, it's a phased approach in order to embed this monitoring and evaluation habit, as well as the tools into the city system.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, that was my only question, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Carroll. Councillor Lai, to question, please. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of questions for staff. Through you, Mr. Chair. Is this program for youth in the city or just targeted to the most vulnerable youths?
So thank you for the question, Councillor Lai. So through the chair, the review looks at 47 city-funded or city-administered programs for young people in the city. So it ranges from programs that are just generally for any young person to help them, become healthy and productive and happy adults, to programs that are targeted for young people who exhibit a lot of risk factors for involvement in crime and violence.
Okay, my next question would be, I'm interested in your TOWARD program, TO-WARDS program, however you're going to pronounce it, I don't know. So it actually identifies part of my ward in Melbourne. Could you explain how this program works?
So again, thank you for the question, Councillor Lai. I think my colleague is Giuliana Grant is coming on, and she's going to answer that for you.
Through the chair, Councillor Lai, so the TOWARDS, we call it TOWARDS Peace. And the Towards Peace program is a model that is designed to work with communities. So the city is backbone in the community work, but it's really being led by community. So there is an anchor agency, a health community agency, Black Creek Health Center particularly, that is leading the work. But the work is developed by grassroots organization, folks with lived experience. So the people with lived experience are the ones that are reaching out to those that are most impacted, those that are affected. And we have a number of pieces that we're working with to address violence through interruption and intervention and prevention. But the key component to this work is about having community lead it and having people with lived experience implement the work. That's
so you're saying that it's a Black Creek agency. So how does it apply to the Melbourne area?
So we're starting our first project, our first phase is in the northwest region of the city based on data. So we know that's where we see the most violence, and we're targeting that area. The intention is that we will move throughout the city, but this is a first of its kind in Toronto. So we have to make sure that we do this right, and we do this well, and we do this with the experiences of those who know what they're doing. And so this is our first phase, and we will certainly be phasing out and expanding throughout the city.
I see now. Thank you very much for the clarification. And my final question.
That is your final question, Councillor. Sorry.
No, three and a half minutes.
Okay, that's right. Okay, go ahead, Councillor. I have 2 clocks going. We're just talking about it, but that's fine. You're good. You have more than one question now within that time.
Okay. Thank you so much. Just my final question would be, are the recreation programs, are they for all youth or just the vulnerable youths?
So Councillor Lai, I believe Janie Romoff and Howie Dayton from PFNR are online.
Councillor Lai, I'm actually going to ask Howie to answer the question.
Thank you. I'm going to backtrack my clock, Mr. Chair.
It's okay, I'm watching. We have 2 clocks going, one's ahead, one's behind. But it's okay, Councillor, I got you. The staff?
Howie's not connected, so I'll just I'll answer quickly. Apologies, my camera isn't on. I'll turn it on.
Thanks, Ms. Romoff.
Yes, through the chair to you, Councillor, the programs, recreation programs, the youth programs are available for everyone. We have,
Can't hear you, Jenny.
Ms. Romoff, you have gone silent there. Apparently you've dropped off. So if she's dropped off, she can't actually hear me then, right? So members, just stay tuned for a moment, please.
Can anyone hear me now?
Howie, you're good. We can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Howie,
Sorry about
Go
that.
ahead.
Through the chair, I can help Janie out. We're tag teaming. Yes, Councillor Lyon, through the chair, the recreation programs for youth are certainly available for everyone. We do, in the way that they're located and planned, certainly have a focus on reaching vulnerable youth in vulnerable areas of the city. And part of the work that we're doing with SDFA and through this youth outcomes framework is to ensure that we're more intentional and certainly using data and a number of other outcomes that we're seeking to ensure that we're reaching those who really require those systemic barriers to be addressed in their ability to participate.
Councillor, I'll give you an opportunity to ask one final question.
No, I'm good. Thank
Fantastic.
you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Just looking at the screen to see if any other members of council have questions. Just a couple of quick questions from me. So this review, you've gone back and looked at all of the different programs that we offer for young people and looking at consolidating to make sure that we know what works and to measure them, to measure for success. Is that part of the process that you've done with respect to this review?
So Deputy Mayor, thank you for the question. So we have looked at all the city funded and administered youth programs, 47 across 8 division and agencies, and developed the outcomes that we are all going to be measuring so that council can have, and divisions and agencies can have consistent data to make program improvements and other decisions. We have not looked at consolidating at this moment in time. That wasn't the scope of the review to date. But as I said, the data that we collect over time will allow us to improve our programs and services, and it will also allow for decision-making about investments, new programs, and potentially de-investment if that is the will of council. But I think the intent of all program administrators across the 8 are about how do we ensure that we're delivering the best outcomes using the resources that the city has invested in all 47 programs.
Thank you very much for that. And I realize this is our own city youth services review, but I think that there's an intersectionality with respect to some of the things that happens with the province, for example. So we have young people who are, and as it's been stated, I think Ms. Grant talked a little bit about violence prevention, intervention, and so on. So when these young people get involved in activities that requires them to be within the criminal justice system, I'm just wondering, what's the sort of intersectionality between some of the provincial programs and some of our programs, and how are we looking at, and I know you talked about this is not about consolidation at this time, how are we looking at sort of that sort of interaction between those different programs that are offered by the city and the province, and how do we make them purposeful to help young people, particularly those who have been in the criminal justice system coming out? How do we serve them?
So you're absolutely right, Deputy Mayor, that there is a lot of interplay between the programs that the city both funds and runs, and programs funded by the province as well as the federal government and other funders. We certainly sought to clarify the city's role in a complex youth service system through this work. But moving forward, one of the things that we are working on, and particularly through the Youth Development Unit within Social Development, Finance and Administration, is around working with the province to try to create a much more seamless approach to supporting young people who are coming out of incarceration or in remand or otherwise have experience with the justice system. We need a much more streamlined approach so that young people are getting the types of intensive supports that they need, particularly when they're coming out of the system. There's some work that we're doing right now this summer, working with the police, Toronto Community Housing, the school boards, and obviously city programs to test out some of these approaches and also get clearer about what our asks are so that we can continue to have those conversations with the provincial government. But absolutely, we need their help in order to work on a comprehensive approach to young people who have involvement within the criminal justice system.
Thank you very much for the answer, Mrs. Campbell. I appreciate that. I have no further questions. I'm just looking at the screen to see if any other members may have questions. I see none. Okay, opportunity to speak. First speaker I have is Councillor Lai. Councillor Carroll will be next. Councillor Lai, you have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Councillor Carroll held the item. Does she not speak first? Or I don't know, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Lai, you're the speaker. You're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to first by saying thank you, staff, for this the good report and for your efforts for us to comment. Can you hear me? Okay.
We can hear you. The screen's going a little funny, but we can hear you.
We're getting some of that. We're getting some of that background noise coming from the committee room that sometimes happens on WebEx. I think Councillor Lai needs all the mics off in the committee room.
Yeah, thank you. Go ahead, please, Councillor Lai.
Thank you. I just wanted to commend staff, and youth is very critical to our city, and they are our future. And I'm very glad to see the report and to see the integrated approach. So we need to work with, especially vulnerable youth, but it shouldn't stop us from being proactive in preventing our other youth to become bad youth. So, I mean, it's very important that we provide them with the opportunity and with the mentorship. And I actually commend the idea of the Towards Peace program that identify in the area of focus. And I will be glad to work with staff when it comes to, my ward. Part of Melvin is my ward. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Those are my comments.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lai. And I will now turn the floor over to Councillor Carroll. And Councillor Carroll will move the item. Councillor Carroll, you have the floor. 5 minutes.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. We should be very proud of the progress we're making with this report, because this is actually our first work in this committee. When I have something that I want to move through economic and community development, I don't have to move a city council motion, because we have a chair. It is a longstanding practice of Chair Thompson that if it's our work, bring it to our committee, and he is always happy to put it on the agenda. And this was a big piece to put on the agenda, and it went on in meeting number 1 of this term. And in answer to some of Councillor Lai's concerns, the motion is very clear that Ec and Community Dev review all City of Toronto youth services and programming, including a review of the Toronto Youth Equity Strategy, and report back. The pandemic stopped us from doing it when we should. Report back in Q2 of 2020. We all know what was going on then, with recommendations on how to best optimize youth service delivery to meet the needs of youth most vulnerable to serious crime and violence. And that's the key piece here. We knew the review was going to take a long time, and it's why happily, just before we got into the pandemic, staff brought back, Towards Peace is ready to go, and it's a place-based strategy. Not unlike in Melbourne, you have a neighborhood improvement area, and so there was a bit of a place-based strategy there a few years ago that's still bearing fruit. And Towards Peace has a similar place-based hub focus to put all hands to the pumps to solve issues. And so we don't have nothing going on while we figure out how to evaluate. But I'm really happy that what this report does is, for the first time ever, talks about we should have metrics. We actually don't have proper monitoring and metrics of the youth programs that we put out there. So many of them, and we all know every budget, a councillor has another youth hub they can add to a space. The federal or provincial government comes forward in the face of violence and says, here's some money, we're throwing noodles at your wall, let's see which ones stick. But we don't actually really have an institutionalized system of metrics to make sure that they work. I'm passionate about this because I came into office in 2003 just as my community was losing a program that was an alternative to justice system program. And it was being jointly run by the city and the police with provincial funds. But the province was pulling it away. And I will never forget, I, with Councillor Suzanne Hall from Etobicoke, we went to visit with Minister Monty Quinter because I was going to lose the program. A Scarborough community was going to lose the program. And had it continued, the next step was to bring it to Rexdale. And she was frantic. And we went to visit with Minister Quinter, and he said, we have no way of evaluating it, and you guys haven't figured out a way of evaluating it. We don't know how to follow up, so it's just net widening. I had to fudge the rest of the meeting and go home and look up what net widening is. It's things might be getting better out there, but we don't know if we're really targeting the right people. We're just pulling more people in and giving them some service, but we don't know if it's keeping them out of the world of crime going forward. And so we don't do it. We'll just stop this program because we can't evaluate it. That's why this framework You see an attachment 2 is so important. Staff came to me a few months after the motion was moved and said, this is going to be hard. We don't know if we need to spend $11 billion to hire a consultant. We don't really have a way of evaluating what we have here. And then they were further challenged by the pandemic. But during the pandemic months, they have actually put their minds to an evaluation framework here that I think is really going to fundamentally change how we make sure that the people who will fall between the cracks if they aren't being successfully served by programs really are getting served. With respect to those kids that aren't in that situation, I have to say they're not in this motion because they are served by our own recreation programs and by the ability of any leader in the community who wants to buy a permit and set up a volleyball program, a basketball program, whatever.
Wrap
they
up,
can
please,
do
Councillor.
it and they can charge for it. And that's what serves those kids. The kids in this motion, youth most vulnerable to serious crime and violence, is what this framework gets at. We must know if the money we're spending is saving them. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Would you move the item, please, Councillor Carroll?
I am proud to move the item, and I thank the staff for this framework.
Fantastic. I just want to say thank you, and I'll speak further on this matter at council just in the interest of time. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much. We are moving on, members, to the next item, EC 23.4, St. Jamestown Community Food Table. This was held in the name of Councillor Cressy by Councillor Carroll. Councillor Cressy, do you have questions?
I do not, Chair.
Okay, wish to speak? Anyone else have questions? Seeing none? Do you wish to speak, Councillor Cressy?
I was just, Mr. Chair, I was provided just now with an amendment, which is why I held it on behalf of Councillor Wong Tam that I will place.
Have the amendments? Does the clerk have the amendments? Okay, we'll just put it on the screen. I have not seen them, the amendments, Councillor Cressy. We'll just put it on the screen and let members have an opportunity.
If you'd like, Chair, I just received it. If you'd like to hold down the item so that you have a chance to review it, as I just received it. I'm happy to follow your direction.
Okay, Councillor Cressy, it seems that this is a more complicated issue. There are changes that are taking place as we speak. So let's hold this down for a moment, and then we will go to another item that we actually have to introduce as a piece of new business that comes out of your office, Councillor Cressy, which I support. So, Madam Clerk, I'm wondering if we just add the new business. There's an item here coming out of Councillor Cressy's office. Members, you have not had an opportunity to read this yet. Just wondered, Councillor Cressy, would you just take a quick moment to introduce this item, please? And then we will add it to the agenda.
This is a new business item to request for city staff to report back regarding a potential exemption at 245 Queen Street West on behalf of the Harbourfront Centre.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Cressy. Members, the item that has just been mentioned by Councillor Cressy, I'd like to add this item as a new business to the agenda. All those in favor? Oppose? That's carried. All right. Members, I don't know whether or not you need some time to review this item for new business. It's really an opportunity for staff to report back. As Councillor Cressy has indicated, it is looking to review Chapter 394 animal exemption for 245 Queens Quay West. It's Reptilia that this company would like to lease the space there that's available. It's been sitting, I think, vacant for some time. It's where the Purina dog, I think it was, I don't know if it was festival or dog. I don't remember what the actual name was, but it was where they had the Purina dog showcasing facilities for animals, and families would go with their pets and so on. So this is using that space for Reptilia. So it's a report request essentially. So report will come back and we'll deal with it at a later time. So just in the interest of time, if no one needs to hold this, then we can basically just deal with it and dispense it so that staff can go ahead and do what they will have to do in terms of looking at whether or not an exemption would be granted as it relates to Chapter 394. So any questions on that, or if folks are happy with it, we can just deal with it now? All right, seeing and nodding of the head. So all those in favor of this item being referred to staff to report back? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Madam Clerk, we still have the, okay. All right, so members, we don't have the motion from Councillor Wong Tam. This matter will go, just give me a sec, please. Okay, so. Members, just bear with us. I'm just having a discussion with the clerk. This is our last item, so just give me a moment, please. There's been a little bit of information that we have to gather for this. Give me a moment, please. Okay. All right. So, members, this item, we're just the recommendation is to receive this item. That's what we're going to do with it. Okay. All those in favor of receipt? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much. The agenda has been completed. However, members, I have just been informed that a very valuable member of our EDC team has indicated that he will be retiring. And I was not aware of this until just a short time ago. And I think it would be important for us to recognize this member. This is Mike Major, who has been responsible for BIAs for a very long time. Mike has been with the city for 33 years. That has been a career of just awesomeness, and I'll use that word that we borrowed this morning from Giuliana's cake that we use on there. And I just want to thank Mike for his great contributions to the city, to the improvement of the BIA and so on. And I know that our acting general manager, Ms. Blackman, will have more to say. So I'm going to turn the floor over to her, and just on behalf of the committee members, just to thank Mr. Major for all that he's done. He is on with us. I can see him here. So, Mr. Major, I'll turn the floor over to you shortly, or Ms. Blackman will, but I'll turn it over to Ms. Blackman. And just to reiterate, Mr. Major, we've had such a tremendous working relationship over the number of years that I've been chair here. Thank you so much for your outstanding contributions, great discussions that we've had, your leadership on the BIA file, and many other things that you've done here. Also on behalf of myself and members of the committee, thank you and wish you well in your retirement. I know that it's not till September, but we don't have another committee meeting in the interim, so I'm glad that we were able to catch this today, because it would have been a great void for us not having to say just thank you and appreciation for all that you've done for all of us and all of the citizens in Toronto. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Blackman now. Ms. Blackman, the floor is yours. Thank you.
And so, Deputy Mayor, thank you so much for indulging the team in economic development and culture to take this opportunity to acknowledge our colleague and comrade, Mike Major. Thank you to Tobias Novogradsky for bringing this opportunity to bear. So, Mike, there are many ingredients to success and vitality of a city and a public service. One of them, perhaps underappreciated, is the core of folks who share a genuine passion for both the competencies and character required to nurture the development of places, programs, and most importantly, people. And who knows this better than yourself? You have, over 33 years, been a consummate builder, creator, and connector in our city. And for this Toronto and Toronto Public Service, we are truly grateful and in debt to you for all that you've done. Mike, you are a credit to the fact that you can go anywhere in Toronto and you can look around and see the major contributions, no pun intended, made to making the city an amazing place to work, to have recreation, to live, and really this idea that we have been able through the work in BIAs to co-invest with community and enterprise. Of equal importance, Mike, is the legacy and impact that you are carrying on. And because of the things that you've contributed, the extra effort that you've shared, the knowledge, the expertise, the insights and encouragement that you've given both your colleagues, the staff that have worked with you, the constituents, our colleagues in council, and our stakeholders, in many ways, big and small, across 3+ decades, this city is stronger for your contributions. So Mike Major, on behalf of Economic Development and Culture, on behalf of the CSS SMT, please accept our best wishes on a healthy and happy retirement to come. And we wanted to take this opportunity to acknowledge you and just share our heartfelt great wishes for everything that you've done. Mike, thank you very much. And I'll turn to you.
Well, thank you, everyone. Very kind words. I appreciate it. As many of you know, working with BIAs has many trials and tribulations, but it's also a lot of fun. I find it a bit ironic is that I joined economic development at the beginning of SARS, and I'm leaving economic development as hopefully we begin to put COVID-19 behind us. I do want to thank Chair Thompson and the rest of the committee for your leadership, particularly on the BIA file. With your support, we've grown the BIAs from, I believe, 42 BIAs when I first started to 85 BIAs now. And Councillor Carroll, your former role as budget chief, I remember those discussions on our capital budget years ago. Appreciate your support throughout the years. More importantly than the number of BIAs we have, Toronto is a world leader in BIA innovation. Many countries and cities around the world come to us for advice about programs and implementing a good BIA program. So it's been a truly rewarding experience, both professionally and personally. And I do want to echo one thing that Giuliana Carbone mentioned. It's not just about one person. Success is a true team effort. And I've had the privilege to have a great staff behind me, professional and passionate BIA team, and I thank them for their support. So I thank you all for the kind words, and I wish you all the best, and I'm sure we'll see most of you around in some capacity. Thank you very much.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Mike. All the best to you, and stay safe and healthy, and we look forward to seeing you in your retirement. Take care. All right, Madam Clerk, we have concluded.
Michael, I think you better stop buying the retirement cakes at ours and just get straight grocery store slab cakes, because it's causing a spate of retirements.
Thanks for the advice, Councillor Carroll. Thank you. So, Madam Clerk, we have concluded the agendas. Members of committee, we have successfully concluded the agenda. Today it's 12 noon. We had said that we needed to complete at 12. We have completed on time. So, thank you very much. I'd like to have a motion from, how about Councillor Ford? Motion to adjourn? Okay, members, we have a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you very much. Listen, I want to thank you all very much, and thank you to the staff. I know we have one council meeting left, but this is our last committee meeting before sort of the September, I guess September, October. We have some summer in between there in this pandemic environment. Thank you all. Stay well. All the best to you and your families, and look forward to seeing you at our next ECDC meeting. But I know I'll see you all at council on the 14th. Have an amazing day, and happy Canada Day to you all, and we'll take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chair. Have a safe summer, everybody.
Thanks.